This is Pokemon Infinite Fusion, the fan game with over 251,000 different Pokemon combinations. And we're here today to see if we can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke using only Poison-type fusions. That means if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. The level cap is the next leader's ace. No active items can be used in battle, and we play the game on set mode. If you like this video, the sound of my voice, and this isn't your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The only way I'm going to be able to continue to grow as a creator is with all of your help. So anything you could do would be like super awesome. In remix mode, the leaders, types, and teams have been revamped to make the game much harder. And the pool of available wild Pokemon incorporates every Pokemon in Infinite Fusion. Just like with all of my monotype runs, we are going to be starting with the base form of each poison Pokemon that is in the game. That way we can see some fusions that you likely wouldn't see on your own. But anywho, with that all being said, let's get started. For our starter Pokemon, we're going to be choosing Bulbasaur since its secondary typing is Poison. But before we leave the lab, we need to face off against Rando in our first ever rival battle. Sends in a Double Fuse Dratini, and I send in Bulbasaur. He's going to start wrapping me up, and I'm going to start tackling him. And let's see who comes out on top in this ferocious battle of baby dudes. And after we get a bunch of tackles in and he wraps me up in his loving embrace, we eventually take him down, defeating Rando. Now let's see what friends we can make before we face off against Brock. Over on Route 1, we're going to grab ourselves a Shinx. On 22, a Mime Jr. A Happy in the Secret Garden. As well as our Rockruff Egg. A Swablu on Route 2. And a Joltik in Viridian Forest. And finally an Elekid over on Route 3. First up, we're going to take our Mime Jr. and fuse it up with Tentacool to get ourselves Mime Cool. And this is absolutely horrifying. We're using it. Next up, we're going to fuse Bulbasaur and Chansey and get ourselves Chansor. Look at these other sprites. Oh my goodness. I love that it's by a little campfire with all its little eggs. It's so freaking cute. Next up is going to be Elekid and Koffing. And when fusing together, they become Koff Kid. And now it's time for us to take on Brock in his Steely Steel types. Our duck comes in first, and I send in Chansor. We're going to go for a Vine Whip, doing a bit of damage as it goes for a Headbutt. So I guess I might as well seed this thing up as it decides to yawn. So we'll swap out and send in Mime Cool instead as it goes for a Metal Claw, scoring a massive hit on us. Then going for a Mud Slap, we're going to get it down into the red as it sets up a future sight. And with one more Mud Slap, we take it down, which leads into Steve Jr. So we're going to swap out and send in Chansor as it goes for a Rock Throw. After that, it hits us with a Gyro Ball, and I'm going to seed this puppy up. Before swapping back into Mime Cool as it goes for a Confusion. But lucky for me, it has Filter, so it doesn't do that much damage, and then it misses on the following turn. We're going to get it down low enough to activate its Berry, lowering its accuracy even more as it hits us with a Confusion, which once again filter and neutral damage, and we're going to get this thing down even lower. And I realize I forgot to name all three of these things. I'll do that afterwards, but Steve Jr. goes down, and we defeat Brock. While fighting across Route 3, Chansor evolves into a Chansar. Mime Cool is going to evolve as well, ascending into Mr. Cool. Over by Mount Moon, we run into Nurse Joy tending to this wounded Geodude. When in rushes Brock, who's smelling a rock in need. He's here to help. But before Brock can do anything, Mr. Cool stares deeply into the Geodude's eyes. And after they lock eyes for what seems to be like 45 minutes, Nurse Joy decides to leave. And the Geodude faints simply by looking at Mr. Cool. We're then gonna get a fish from this guy. And a 2-for-1 with Karen inside of Mount Moon. And after fighting our way to the back of Mount Moon, we come upon Team Rocket, who is apparently trying to master some sort of triple fusion. And while that sounds super cool, it's gotta be evil, because Team Rocket. And after they slap the 3 rocket starters down on the pad, we approach, breaking up their party. In a panic state, the Rocket Grunt hits the button on the machine, and the 3 rocket starters all fuse into some sort of sentient goo, creating the first ever Grimer, which we scoop up in a ball and take for ourselves to add to our poison run. And the rest of Team Rocket blasts off. Now give me Lord Helix. And on Route 4, we grab a Wimpod. Needing to add another member to our team, we're gonna fuse up Magikarp and Zubat to get ourselves Zucarp. who's going to evolve right away from Zoocarp into a Zoodos. And getting to the level cap one more time from Zoodos into Goldos. And finally, Cough Kid is going to ascend as well into a Cough Buzz. We run into Rando just outside Nugget Bridge, who lets us know not even to bother trying to take on the Nugget Bridge challenge. He already finished that guy off. Rando starts off by sending in Cottonix and we send in Cough Buzz. And I don't remember the name of him at some point, but a Sludge takes down Cottonix in one shot, leading into Eevee. And going for an Assurance, we do a bit of damage as it goes for a Wish. And with a Shockwave, we bring it down quite low as it goes for a Bite. And after going for another Wish and healing up, his wish is going to come true as he doesn't go down. And he's going to keep on spamming Wish until eventually this thing is going to go down. In just a couple more hits, but not before my own Berry gets activated. Gumi's up next. And I'm going to throw some Sludge at this thing, getting the poison off as it goes for a Bubble. And with one more Sludge, down goes Gumi, leading into his Devil Fused Dratini. And we're going to go for a Sludge, scoring a pretty big hit as it goes for a Water Pulse. After that, another Sludge gets him down into the red, and he goes for a Dragon Rage. But we're playing with Dragon Rage Claws, everybody. Don't worry. And with a Confusion, we take him down. And for anybody that doesn't know, the way the Dragon Rage Claws works is that before the second gym, any KOs caused by Dragon Rage don't count. If he had Dragon Raged me and then hit me down after that, I'd be dead. But just straight up Dragon Rage doesn't count. And if you don't like that, tell me in the comments. But anywho, on 24, we're going to grab a Solosis. After crossing Route 24 and 25, we find Bill in his lab with his best buddy Rhydon. But he doesn't realize that he has a fusion splicer in his pocket, and when they go to bump fists, they actually bump bodies together, fusing into one miraculous Bildon. But he didn't want to be a Bildon, he just wanted to be a Bill. So he asks if we can help defuse the situation, and of course we can, Bill. And after heading over to the machine and pressing the button, Bill comes out the other side. But what the hell happened to Rhydon? And now it's time for us to take on Misty and her ice Pokemon. He starts off with Aurora, and we are going to send in Chansor. I'm then going to set up a Sunny Day to counteract the fact that it sets up the Hail, and I'm going to get paralyzed after that. So let's swap out and send in Cough Buzz, as the Ferora goes for an Icy Wind, lowering our speed. After that, we're going to go for the Sludge, taking it down at 1, leading into Frostras. Frostras goes for a Draining Kiss, doing effectively nothing, and we can go for a Shockwave, doing about a third. After that, another Smoochy Smooch is going to lower us down a bit, and we go for another Shockwave, which is going to activate her Berry. Misty then uses the Super Potion, and we're going to keep on going for Shockwaves, doing about 50%, as a Bubble Beam gets me down to like nothing. And Petrified, I swap out, and I send in Chansor instead, as it goes for an Icy Wind. After that, a Smoochy Kiss is going to do just a bit of damage. We go for a Razor Leaf, taking it down, and we defeat Misty. On Route 5, we're going to grab a Drifloon. On 6, a Munchlax. In Diglett's Cave, you can guess what I get. On 11, we grab a Scraggy. And we give this guy a boot for a Wooper. Wanting to fill up the last couple slots in our party, we are going to fuse up Wooper and Ekans to get Eekper. Ekper is then going to start evolving Burst into Exire, who is adorable, by the way. And then one more time into Arcsire. On the SSN, we're going to grab ourselves this spicy little Squirrelix and beat up this Dark for a Root Fossil. We run into Rando over on the SSN. Apparently he got a part-time job here as a line chef, but he just went to go see the captain and got fired after whatever it is that he cooked got everybody, including the captain, violently ill. Rando starts out by sending in Niniard, and we're going to send in Noxus. Going for a Fire Fang, we bring it down to its Focus Hash, and we get the burn, which is fantastic, and this thing is going to go down. Next now comes Hormy. I'm going to go for an Amnesia as the Hormy goes for a Dragon Breath, paralyzing me. And after another Dragon Breath, we go for a neutral Thunderfang, doing quite a bit of damage. And after it continues storing up some energy for a bind, we take it down, leading into this Haunted Inker, who's going to go for a Mega Drain, doing some damage to us, and we can go for a Fire Fang, doing some damage back. After that, Astonish isn't very effective at doing much of anything, and we take it down with another Fire Fang, which leads into Solavi. Who's gonna go for a Swift when he should have gone for a Psychic move, and so we're gonna heal up a little bit, going for a Crunch, taking him down, leading into Gattanuxio. It's gonna try to set up a Leech Seed, but fail, and we go for a Fire Fang, which doesn't KO because we are intimidated. After one more Fire Fang, we take down the Gattanuxio, and we defeat Rando. And now it's time for us to take on Lieutenant Surge and his Fighty Fight Boys. His first Fighty Fight Boy, Coughlume, comes in, and I send in Guy. My plan here is to set up some spikes since Coughlume can't really do anything to me, and it's going to go for a double team, which is super annoying because I guess that is something it can do to me. And after hitting me twice and going for a Mach Punch, I'm going to go for an Acid Spray before going for a Psybeam and picking up the KO. Next up comes Flarty, who's going to get poisoned and we're going to get intimidated. We can outspeed with a Psybeam, doing a pretty good amount of damage, and I get knocked down to just 5 HP. Surge then heals up, and we go for another Psybeam, bringing it down low enough for the poison to do its thing, leading into Houndblade. And I'm going to swap out Guy and send in Teefs to get the Intimidate off, and he goes for a Bite. Another Bite's going to come in, getting me down just below half, and we can go for a Wing Attack, bringing him down quite low, but this will activate his Berry. And it goes for one more Bite. We go for one more Wing Attack, take down Houndblade, and we defeat Surge. With a bunch of encounters to get, let's start things off on Route 9, where we grab a Kecleon. On 10, we get a 2-for-1 with a Manub. In the power plant, we grab a Clink. Another 2-for-1 with Malouette inside of Rock Tunnel. We're then going to grab a Noibat Egg. And our Honedge. While getting ready to face off against Rando and Pokemon Tower, we get some evolutions. Earth Happy into Chansor. Next is going to be Guy, who evolves into Mr. Cruel. And finally Adam, who is going to evolve as well into Weebuzz. For the last slot on our team, we are going to fuse up Drifloon and Venonat to get Drifblat, who's going to evolve first into this thing, and then one more time into Driftmoth. We meet up with Rando in Pokemon Tower, where he is celebrating the life of his double fused Dratini. Apparently his bad cooking not only got the captain of the SS Sand sick, but his Dratini as well, that has fallen into what is known as the Eternal Slumber. Now he starts off with Whimsiccio, and we send in Noxus. Who's gonna try to go for a Thunder Wave, but that doesn't work, you silly goose, and I'm gonna start stocking up stockpiles. But then I get Leech Seeded, which is gonna kind of put a timer on what I'm doing here, which is super frustrating. He then goes for a Giga Drain, and I go for a Fire Fang, and he is back basically to full. So we're gonna swap out Noxus and send in Adam, and the Whimsiccio tries to go for another Thunder Wave. I'm then gonna go for a Sludge Bomb, finishing it off. Next up comes Gligar, and I accidentally go for a Shockwave, but then it goes for a Mud Bomb. So we're both silly gooses. Anywho, I'm gonna go for another Sludge Bomb, doing just over 50%, and we get the poison off, which is great. It goes for an Aerial Ace, which does effectively nothing, and Rando's gonna heal up with a Super Potion. And after we go for another 2 Sludge Bombs, Gligar goes down, which leads into Duo V. So we're gonna swap out of Adam and send in Guy as it goes for a Trick Room. Anyways, we're gonna go for an Acid Spray, and it tries to go for a Trick Room again, putting everything back to normal. Then we finish it off with a Smoochie Kiss. Delta comes in next, who is absolutely precious, but I'm gonna go for an Acid Spray, lowering its special defense, and it's gonna go for a Flame Wheel, doing what Flame Wheel do. We can then fire off a Psybeam, finishing off the Delta. Niniard comes in next, and I'm gonna go for another Psybeam, doing about 50% as it goes for a Metal Claw, and it gets the attack increase. So let's swap out, and we'll send in Teefs, getting the Intimidate, and it's gonna U-turn on out of there, and it's gonna send in Seamy. Teefs can go for an Ice Fang, getting a pretty big hit in there, and it goes for a counter, getting me down to 13, excuse you. But another Ice Fang takes it out, which leads back into Niniard. And going for a Wing Attack takes it out, and we defeat Rando. After the battle, we hear a loud crash on the other side of the room, and people screaming at an old man. And when we go to investigate this, we can confirm there is an old man. And that old man getting yelled at by a couple of rocket grunts. What could they possibly want with this old man? They drag him up the stairs, and Rando lets us know that we can't possibly go up those stairs. Everything is covered in ectoplasm. We'll need to get a special pair of goggles that block the ectoplasm so we won't be so scared of what we see up there. And that sounds ridiculous, Rando, but I guess we'll go to the mall and see if they have one there. On Route 8, we're gonna find a Sneasel. On Route 7, a Murkrow, our Eevee in the Celadon condos, a Machop over on 16, and a Porygon over in the game corner. Over in Celadon City, we find Rando beaten up by a couple of rocket grunts. And Rando lets us know that he already went to the mall to try to buy some ghost goggles, but they were all sold out. Because those two Team Rocket goons just bought them all. He says that we gotta head into the sewers and follow those two guys if we want to get those ghost goggles to save that old guy. But first he needs to stop over at the Pokemon Center to heal up, so to please wait for him. But the gorgeous smell of the sewers is attracting my poison-addled brain. Rando, I can't wait. And in the sewers, we're gonna grab a Magnemite. After fighting our way through Team Rocket's super secret underground base, we find Giovanni, who has kidnapped Erica, the local gym leader. There are wine glasses set up, a cheese plate. She looks incredibly uncomfortable. Giovanni, completely outraged that I interrupted their date, challenges us to a Pokemon battle. Daddy Geo sends in Haunting, and I'm going to send in Adam. Going for a Thunderbolt, we do just over 50%, and he's going to go for a Drill Peck, doing, well, not a lot. And with one more Thunderbolt, we bring him down super low, but now we are confused because of Swagger. Giovanni then heals up with a Max Potion, and I can fire back with another Thunderbolt. And we luckily break through again as he then goes for a Pain Split. What a giant jerk! But this is going to heal us up with our berry. And we break through a third time, grabbing the KO on Haunting, which is going to lead into Kekgon. And I assume that he's going to go for a Rock Slide, so I'm going to swap out into Noxus as he Dragon Tails us out right away, sending in Happy. I'm going to go for a Leech Seed, and he's going to go for another Dragon Tail, which is going to send in Teefs. Assuming he'll use a Rock Slide on a flying Pokemon, we switch into Noxus, but he tries a Sucker Punch. So let's start going for stockpiles instead. He goes for a Dragon Tail, and I'm gone again, and now here comes Happy again. He tries to go for a Sucker Punch, but I'm just going to go for a Minimize, because at this point, I don't really know what else to do. Then he does hit us with a Rock Slide, which is kind of frustrating as I set up another Minimize. And now at +6, he fails to connect with a Sucker Punch because I didn't try to hurt him. He then goes for a Rock Slide, which connects, but I'm going to go for a Soft Boiled, and Happy is going to be the single most annoying Pokemon in the entirety of this run. And with a Razor Leaf, we take it down. Disdain comes in next, and that means it's going to copy my stat changes, which is really frustrating. Luckily, we managed to get the Leech Seed off. And I just need to hope that I can take this thing down. He tries to Leech Seed me, but it doesn't work, obviously. And honestly, I think I'm just going to kind of fast forward through most of this. Okay, we went back and forth for like literally several minutes until he switches out and sends in Smeargar. So I'm not dealing with that again. I'm going to swap out Happy, and instead I'm going to send in Balloon as it goes for a Quiver Dance. It sets up a second Quiver Dance, and I'm going to go for a Sleep Powder to stop that nonsense. Then I'm going to go ahead and switch and send in Teefs to get the Intimidate off on this thing, and it's still sleeping. We're going to go for a Stab Wing attack, getting it down pretty low, and then a Citrus Berry is going to heal it up, and then now we're asleep. So I'm going to swap out into Guy as he goes for a Hex, which does a lot to us. So let's try that again. I'm going to swap out and send in Noxus instead as we get Spored. So let's try that again. Here comes Happy. It's going to go for a third Quiver Dance, and I'm going to go for a Leech Seed this time. I'm going to swap into Teefs again, and then it's going to try to go for a Spore, but I'm already sleeping, you silly goose. It then goes for a Hex, scoring a massive hit on us, and I don't wake up. And assuming another Hex, I'm going to swap out and send in Happy, which means I assume it's going to go for another Spore, so we swap out into Noxus as it goes for a Destiny Bond. It then goes for another Hex, and Noxus goes down. So I'm going to send in Balloon. It goes for a Spore and then gets taken down, which means when Disdain comes in, it turns into Balloon. So I'm going to swap into Happy because it won't be able to hit me now. It's going to start going for Minimizes, and I just need to connect with a Leech Seed. It's like literally all I need. Please, for the love of God, I really hope I just didn't screw myself on this. Start stacking up more Quiver Dances, and I need to connect with one of these. And I'm asleep again. And we connect with the Leech Seed, which means Disdain cannot hit me. Thank goodness. So all we need to do now is wait this out for like forever. And it can keep on putting me to sleep all it wants. Disdain is going to very, very slowly fall apart. And then after we manage to connect with a Razor Leaf, it's down super low. And now we're back sleeping, it goes down, and we defeat Giovanni. But unfortunately, we lost Noxus. But with Giovanni defeated, he declares that this date is over. In fact, it wasn't even a date in the first place. And on the table behind Erica, the pair of goggles we've been longing for, so we can save that old man. And now it's time for us to take on Erica and her bug boy. She starts off with Syosum, and I'm going to start off with Balloon. And my plan here is to just go for as many minimizes and quiver dances as I can afford to get away with. So after we get to +6 on our minimizes, I'm going to get to +3 on quiver dances. After that, I'm going to go for a +3 stab hex, and it's not quite enough for the KO, which is insane. So when she heals up, I might as well get to +4. Now with another hex, we still don't quite take it down as it manages to connect because Aerial Ace, but then we take it down, which leads into Polka Gem, who I don't put to sleep, but I managed to on the following turn. Fortunately for me, it has a Lumberry, and now it's starting to boost up its stats, so let's just go for that hex. And after 2, we can take it down as well, which leads into Scolion. And once again, going for another hex, we're going to get it down quite low, but even with the speed boost, we're still faster. And with that, Balloon sweeps Erica. In Pokemon Tower, we're going to grab a Yamask. At the top of Pokemon Tower, we find Mr. Fuji, the man who had been kidnapped by those rocket grunts. And apparently, he's the original creator of the Master Ball, so Team Rocket is trying to get Master Balls from this guy. But he doesn't have any balls on him. All the balls are at Silph Co, so I guess that's where Team Rocket is heading next. But that's somebody else's problem, because I have badges to get. And on Route 12, we grab a Cottony. On 13, an Apom. On 14, a Slack Off. On 15, a Skiploom. And in the Safari Zone, a Ninjask. And now it's time for us to take on Koga and his Dark Dudes. But the Ninja comes in first and we send in Happy. It goes for an Acrobatics and we're going to go for a Leech Seed. And now that it's seeded up, I'm just going to start stacking up minimizes, hoping that I can stay alive here. And after getting to +2 and then to +4, it's still hitting me with Razor Shells, which is honestly kind of annoying. Finally, it misses as we get up to +6. After that, we can go for a Sludge Bomb, getting it down pretty low, and we're going to suck up just a little bit more of that sweet, sweet healing before Koga uses a Hyper Potion. Now going for another Sludge Bomb, we get it down pretty low, and I'm going to keep on doing this thing until it's eventually going to go down. But not before he uses his second potion, because why the heck not? He hits me with an Acrobatics, doing like a butt ton of damage. And another Acrobatics gets me down super low. We're going to Soft Boil up, and then the Leech Seed takes it down. Next out comes Haunchfire, who tries to go for a Sucker Punch, but joke's on you, I'm just giving you a seed. And after missing another Sucker Punch, we go for a Sludge Bomb, getting the poison, which is great. Then now we got 2 dots on Haunchfire. As he misses another Sucker Punch, we can take it down. Now here comes Wirion. Wirion's going to go for a Clear Smog, which is going to remove my evasion, but we do get the Leech Seed off. So I'm going to swap out into Guy, who can tank a Dark Pulse pretty well, but not as well as I'd like. So let's swap out and send him Adam instead as he goes for another Dark Pulse. I then go for a Will-O-Wisp so we can get another dot on this thing, and unfortunately I forgot about Synchronize, which means now Adam is burnt. So let's swap out into Teefs, who can get the Intimidate off on this thing as he goes for another Dark Pulse. Then we're going to go for a Stab Wing Attack, which is going to do a bit of damage. We're going to tank a Dark Pulse, which activates our Berry, but between the Bird and the Leech Seed, Wirion goes down, which is going to lead into Mimirak. The Mimirak goes for a Play Rough, which we can resist, and then we're going to break its disguise with a Poison Fang. After that, a Sucker Punch gets us down to 14. We go for a Poison Fang, doing like nothing. So let's swap out and send in Happy as it goes for another Play Rough, which we resist. And we're then going to go for a Leech Seed as it doesn't hit us with a Sucker Punch, because of course it doesn't. Then tries to go for a U-turn, but there's nowhere for this thing to run, and we manage to get the poison off with a Sludge Bomb. We're getting really lucky with these Sludge Bomb rolls. Anyways, a Sucker Punch gets us down to half, and we are going to go for another Sludge Bomb. In between the poison and the seed, we defeat Koga. To fill up the last slot in our team, we are going to fuse Slaking with Nidoking and get ourselves Nidoking. And while saving everybody in Silph Co, Happy is going to evolve into a Blissor. Teefs is also going to evolve, ascending into a Krotos. And for saving everybody in Silph Co, we get a Lapras. After saving everybody in Silph Co, we run into Rando. who has apparently gotten another part-time job as Giovanni's personal chef, which is all a ploy for his poisonous cooking to take care of the biggest crime boss in Kanto. But by saving everybody, we've disrupted all of their plans and he won't be taking his dinner tonight. So he's gonna have to punish us. Rando starts in by sending in Sigu, and we send in Balloon. I'm gonna start stacking at minimizes to do what we do best as it misses the Dragon Pulse, and I'm gonna get up to +4 as it connects with a Muddy Water. Now that I'm at +4, we're gonna go for a Quiver Dance, and it's gonna try to go for a counter, which is ridiculous. Why would I ever attack you like that? And after we get up to +2, I'm gonna switch back to minimizes to get up to +6 on my evasion. Now going for a Will-O-Wisp, I miss, which is kind of annoying, but whatever I guess. But then we connect, which is fantastic, and it goes for a Dragon Pulse, actually hitting me, excuse you. We're gonna go for another Quiver Dance, and I might as well get up to +6 at this point since I can heal up pretty well between my Black Sludge and the fact that it can barely hit me. Now at +5, it actually manages to connect with another Dragon Pulse, which is super annoying, but now Quiver Dances were at +6. The +6 special defense, special attack, speed, and evasion. And with a Hex, we finish off Sigu, which leads into Manlim. And we're gonna go for a Will-O-Wisp here as it tries to go for an Acrobatics. We then go for a Hex, taking it down, which leads into Deldash. And I don't even need to go for anything on this spooky horse because we can take it down without even burning it, leading into Renewyon. And same thing here, it's already super effective, so one Hex takes care of it. Next in is Nidiard, and I am going to break its Focus Sash with the burn, before we ultimately go for another Hex, taking it down, which leads into Whimsaray. +6, I'm hoping I don't need to do anything else, and we don't, and Balloon does what Balloon do. Rando, realizing he wouldn't be able to stand up against Daddy Geo without us since he doesn't have his poisonous food, he decides that we can battle him together. And together we bust into the president's office where Giovanni hasn't touched a single bite of his disgusting food. Instead, he's berating the Silph president about lack of Master Ball production. 3! That's what he wants. But Mr. President explains that there's only ever been 1. Now enter Rando and I, ready to take down Daddy Geo in a double battle to end all double battles. Haunching and Agent Magius comes in, and we send in Sigu and Adam. Agent Magius is going to go for a King's Shield, and that's fine because I go for a Will-O-Wisp on Haunching before it goes and throws a bunch of sludge at Sigu, and Sigu does a bit of damage back to it. Agent Magius then goes for a Shadow Ball, which is going to finish off Sigu, and I can go for a Flamethrower on Agent Magius, getting a good hit in, which is going to activate its berry. Haunching then goes for a Sludge Bomb on us, which is going to do a lot more than I thought it would, and Manlim comes in. Agent Magius goes for another Shadow Ball on Adam, getting me down wicked low, lowering my special defense. Manlim is going to go for an Acrobatics on Agent Magius, and I can go for a Flamethrower, which is going to just take it down. A Drill Peck on Manlim is going to do quite a bit of damage, activating its berry. And now Kekgon comes in. I'm going to swap out Adam and instead send in Nidoking as the Kekgon goes for a Rock Slide, which does a pretty good amount of damage to Manlim and I, and then a Dark Pulse on Haunching doesn't do a lot before Haunching freaking explodes. Thank goodness I swapped into somebody with a lot of health. Dontor comes in and so does Deldash. Deldash is going to go for a Flame Charge on Kekgon. Unfortunately, Kekgon outspeeds. I thought I'd be able to Hammer Arm it, but it does take Donzor down to like literally nothing, but unfortunately Nidoking and Deldash both get KO'd. I guess I'll send in Teefs, so Renewyon comes in and so does Teefs. I'm in a rough spot here as Giovanni decides to use a Max Potion, and I can go for a Crunch on Teefs. Renewyon goes for a Shadow Ball on Donzor, and then this thing's going to go for another Rock Slide, which does a lot to us. I'm going to follow up with an Ice Fang on Donzor, doing basically nothing. Renewion's going to heal up, and then another Rock Slide is going to do a bunch to us, as Donzor also goes for an Iron Head, and Teefs is going down. So I guess let's send in Happy? Renewyon goes for a Hyper Voice on Donzor and Kekgon. I get hit with a Rock Slide before going for a Minimize. Donzor goes for an Iron Head on Renewyon, getting it down below half, activating its berry. Another Hyper Voice on their side of the field takes down Donzor, and a Rock Slide comes in again, which I can avoid and go for another Minimize. Now at +4, Renewion's going to heal up. Another Rock Slide comes in. We go for a Sludge Bomb, doing just a tiny bit of damage, and I think I'm in an okay spot now. As another Hyper Voice comes in, it goes for an Earthquake, which Happy barely stays up on, and another Sludge Bomb doesn't get the KO. So assuming another Earthquake, I'm going to swap out into Adam, and a Shadow Ball KOs Ekthon. We lost 2 Pokemon there, but it could have been a lot worse. And for saving everyone, I grab a Cyndaquil. And now it's time for us to take on Sabrina and her fairies! Thorwile comes in, and I'm going to send in Balloon. And we're going to go for all that stuff that we normally go for here, and I'm sorry if this is a little cheesy, but these are some tough battles. So I'm going to take all the advantages I can get, and after we get up to +4 on our Quiver Dances, I am going to start going for minimizes instead, especially because now we're burnt. So let's go ahead and get up to +4. And I know I can't poison this thing, but we're still going to go for a Hex here and see what we can do. And Hex still KOs because of my special attack boosts. Anyways, Maracute comes in next, and I'm going to break its disguise and luckily avoid an Earthquake. And after that, we can go for another Hex, bringing it down super low, but it's not low enough to get the KO. So when Sabrina heals up, I'm going to go for a Will-O-Wisp and then follow up with another Hex, taking it out. This is going to lead into Rose War, and we can go for another Hex, getting it down quite low where it fortunately misses a Psychic. So after one more Hex, Rose War goes down, which is going to lead into Clefclang. Since Clefclang is unaware, I'm going to swap out and send in Adam as it goes for a Meteor Mash. Another Meteor Mash is going to come in, connecting, and I can go for a Will-O-Wisp, getting the burn off. And now it misses, I can go for a Flamethrower, getting it down just below half once the burn goes off. It then goes for one more Meteor Mash, activating my berry, but one more Flamethrower takes it down. And with that, we defeat Sabrina. In Pallet Town, I'm going to grab a Charmander egg from our sister. And on Route 21, we're going to get an Octosola. On Cinnabar Island, we are going to grab our Static Absol. In a Pawnyard in Pokemon Mansion. We definitely need some dark dudes on our team if we are going to stand any chance against Blaine, so we're going to fuse up Gengar and Absol for Abgar. And next up is going to be Roserade with Honchkrow to get us Haunchraid. And now it's time for us to take on Blaine and his psychic Pokemon. Mr. Clang comes in and we send in Guy. It tries to go for a Gear Grind, unfortunately misses as it then hits us with a Zen Headbutt and we get our 2 spikes down. Now assuming another Zen Headbutt, I'm going to swatch out in the Abgar, who I forgot to name, and a Gear Grind does like a lot to us. I'm going to go for a Swords Dance on the following turn as it goes for a Shift Gear. And unfortunately, it's faster than me now. And after another Gear Grind, we are left on 3 before sending Mr. Clang down, leading into Wublord. And another Night Slash is going to get him down super low, but then a Body Slam KOs, and it goes down as well. So here comes Haunchraid. And he sends in Magmarish. I'm going to go for a Nasty Plot, and it's going to go for a Belly Drum. From here, it goes for a Mach Punch, scoring a massive hit on us, and we go for a Sludge Bomb, taking it out, which leads into Magros. And I'm going to go for a Sludge Bomb, KOing it in 1, and we defeat Blaine. And I know it's disappointing that we lost another Pokemon, but honestly, Abgar and Haunchraid were here specifically for this fight. Their base stat total is not super high. I'm going to show this dork a bee. And then he is going to give us a Pinecone. And then we are going to fuse them together to create our Bug Bomb. Before facing off against Zamokuno, I realized I forgot to get everybody to the level cap, so Adam evolves into Weavire. And check out this sprite. On the offshore road, we're going to grab a Sharpedo. We catch up with Team Rocket over on Mount Ember, where apparently Giovanni has managed to capture all 3 Cantonian legendary birds. And what's more, his triple fusion project has been a complete success. So he declares, "Fuse the birds!" But there's one thing Daddy Geo didn't count on, and that's me and all of my venomous villains. So it looks like it's going to be up to us to take on Daddy Geo, this super bird, for the sake of the entire Kanto region. You're going down, Big Daddy. Geo sends in Zamokuno, and we send in Beatrice. And Beatrice is going to go for a normal gem-boosted explosion, not doing nearly enough damage. Well, that's not good, but here's Adam. I'm going to go for a Thunderbolt on Moltres, taking it down as Articuno goes for an Ice Beam and Zapdos goes for a Roost. I can then take Articuno down as a drill pet comes in doing barely anything to us, but it will activate our berry. Then I try to go for a Will-O-Wisp, which I miss before I get Thunderbolted and then connect with that Will-O-Wisp. Now super low. I'm going to swap out and send in Happy as a Thunderbolt does effectively nothing to it. I'm then going to seed this puppy up as it goes for another Thunderbolt. In between the burn and the Leech Seed, it's now down into the red. And Giovanni wastes his final turn going for a full heal, and we defeat Zapmalcuno. And with Giovanni defeated, the birds, they defuse, and they go back to where they're supposed to, except Moltres, because we're in his house. Now we need to leave. And Giovanni does just that. And now it's time for us to take on Giovanni and his normal dudes. He starts off with Disdain, and I'm going to send in Balloon specifically for the exact same reason we did last time. So now we can swap out into Happy and he won't be able to hit me. Luckily we can go for a Leech Seed before he starts doing stuff. And now we can start stacking up and before I can even start stacking up Minimize as he swaps out in a Stand Fox. So I guess I'll go for the Leech Seed on this one as well. But I don't want to raise my evasion too much because if he switches back into Disdain, I'll be in a bad situation. So going for another Sludge Bomb takes him down, which leads into Snorking. And assuming an Earth Power, I'm going to swap out into Adam, and he goes for a Crunch instead. Then hitting us with a Thunderbolt, I'm going to go for a Will-O-Wisp to cut the attack down. And with another Thunderbolt, it's going to activate my Berry, and I'm going to go for a Sludge Bomb doing basically nothing. Though it goes for a Crunch, and I guess let's go for a Flamethrower instead, and now it's just a bit below half, and it goes for another Thunderbolt. Then let's go for another Flamethrower on this thing as it goes for another T-Bolt, and I'm getting really low. And I assume Gio's going to heal up, but he doesn't. But then the burn takes him down, which leads into Tyran King, who I assume is going to go for a Retaliate, so I'm going to swap into Balloon, and he doesn't. He goes for a Rock Slide. You've got to be kidding me. So now that he's truanted, I'm going to go for a Will-O-Wisp here. And then he's going to hit me with a Play Rough for basically nothing, and I can go for a Minimize. Now during his truant phase, I try to go for a Hex, but you silly goose, Giovanni's team is all normal types. So let's swap out and send in Guy instead as it goes for another Play Rough. I'm then going to go for a Psychic, getting it down low enough for the burn to grab the KO, which leads into Mapam. It's going to go for a double hit, which is going to absolutely annihilate Guy. No! I was not expecting that, so let's send in Happy. And he misses on his double hit, and I can go for a Leech Seed. After that, he's going to go for a double hit on us, and I'm going to go for a Sludge Bomb, getting a pretty good hit in. And assuming another double hit, because it's all he's used so far, I'll swap into Balloon. It then hits me with a Dual Jump, which is fine, because the Life Orb takes itself down, and I go for a Minimize, which is a little unfortunate once Disdain comes in. It goes for a Hex on us, doing a lot, and I go for a Hex as well, doing more. Taking it down, and we defeat Daddy Gio. But at the loss of our first fusion, needing to round out our team a bit, we're going to fuse up Garbodor and Magnezone and get ourselves Magnador. And for the final slot on our team, we're going to fuse Weavile up with Toxapex to get Toxvile. Alright everybody, before we face off against the Elite Four, let's take one quick look at our final team. First up, we have Balloon the Driftmoth with Hex, Will-O-Wisp, Quiver Dance, and Minimize. Happy the Blissor with Sludge Bomb, Minimize, Leech Seed, and Soft Boiled. Maria the Hauntrade with Energy Ball, Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, and Nasty Plot. Adam the Weavire with Thunder Punch, Will-O-Wisp, Brick Break, and Earthquake. Bender the Magnador with Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, Acid Spray, and Toxic Spikes. And finally Spike the Toxvile with Ice Punch, Night Slash, Liquidation, and Baleful Bunker. And now it's time for us to take on Lorelei and her water guys. Rotoad comes in first, and I'm going to send in Maria. My plan is to go for a couple of nasty plots and hopefully just OHKO every single one of her Pokemon as she Volt Switches out into Starkazin. Though I can't really afford to wait here, so we're going to go for an Energy Ball, taking it down. Which leads into Scartops. And even though it's only going to be neutral, it's at least Stab, so we are going to go for a Waterfall, and I flinch. So we're going to swap out and send in Spike as he goes for a Brave Bird. It then hits us with an Iron Head for a butt ton of damage, and I go for a Night Slash, doing basically nothing. So let's swap out again and instead send in Happy as she heals up. A waterfall does some damage to us, and unfortunately I'm gonna flinch here. And I need to set up the Leech Seed, and fortunately we do. And I realize here that I'm not going to be able to take Scartops down with any of my actual moves, so I need to let the Leech Seed just kind of do its thing as she heals up with her final potion. Now I'm just going to keep on spamming soft boils like a giant jerk until this thing can go down. And how the heck is it still hitting me? Alright, cool, I am at +6, so what the hell's going on here? Anyways, it's going to start missing me finally, but just kidding, no it doesn't. It's going to hit me with another waterfall, and now it's down super low, and I think it missed like maybe 3 times. But anyway, here's Ludnix, who's going to go for a Calm Mind, and I can go for a Leech Seed. Fortunately, it misses a Psychic, and I can hit it with a Slush Bomb. But unfortunately, its Dry Skin means it's going to heal up a bit every turn, and with Calm Minds, I'm going to start doing less and less damage. But now it's both poisoned and seeded, so even though it's going to be healing up a bit every turn, at least I have 2 dots on there, bringing it down a bit lower. It will hit us with the Giga Drain, but it's now down low enough where hopefully we can take it out. And we do. Which leads into Rotoad again, who's going to try to hit us with a Weather Ball, and we can go for another Leech Seed. And I know, once again, the evasion strats are kind of a pain in the neck, but what am I supposed to do here, folks? Anyway, Sludge Bomb's going to do the thing, and fortunately we get the poison off, which is wonderful. So now let's go for a Leech Seed on Kingstar. So now, once again, we got 2 dots on this bad boy, and we can keep ourselves top off. I am starting to run out of Sludge Bombs, so I might have to switch at some point, but we'll see how that happens. Kingstar then goes down, leading back into Rotoad, and once again, we're going to go for another Leech Seed, and hopefully he doesn't full switch out, or if he tries, he misses. And he hits a Thunder, which I know is 100% in the rain, but I am still at +6 evasion, you little jerk. And he hits me again with a Volt Switch. It's almost as if I don't have any evasion. And a Sludge Bomb on Tantic is going to do a bunch of damage to it. And with one more, we can take the Tantic down. Which leads back into Rotoad, who's going to hit us with a Thunder. We go for a Sludge Bomb, taking it out. And thank goodness for the special defense on Happy, because the evasion, isn't working. But we do defeat Lorelei. And now it's time for the face-off against Bruno and his rock-hard Hard Boys. Tyrannosaurus comes in, and I send in Bender. I'm going to set up some Toxic Spikes here because I have a couple of these dudes that I need to break their sturdy on. And once we get 2 layers down, I get hit with a couple of moves from him, and I'm still in pretty good shape. I'm now going to go for an Acid Spray just to lower its special defense as it hits me with a Shadow Ball. But now that it's been Acid Sprayed, a super effective Flash Cannon can take it down no problem. Next out comes Mariperior, who's going to be poisoned. And going for a Flash Cannon, we take it down super low and get the flinch, which means the poison KOs. And now here comes Kingron. And this thing is horrifying. And it doesn't go for Metal Burst, it goes for Earthquake! I should have saw that coming. Alright, here's Adam, who can go for a Thunder Punch, bringing it down quite low as it fortunately misses its Crab Hammer. Bruno then swaps out, sending in Krazeluf, and I can go for another Thunder Punch, bringing it down pretty low. It's then going to go for a Weather Ball, and we can go for a Thunder Punch, KOing it, which leads into Kingron again, who we can take down with a Thunder Punch. Now here's Geraldo, the funniest name ever. It's going to go for a Protect because it's trying to activate Guts, but it's already poisoned, and it then hits us with a Stone Edge for a lot. And we can go for another Thunder Punch, KOing Geraldo, which leads into Carnot. And I'm going to stay in and go for an Earthquake, doing just over 50% as it sets up a Substitute. Alright dude, do you. We're going to get rid of the Substitute as it goes for a Drain Punch, which is going to activate our Berry. And it's going to keep it just healthy enough so it doesn't go down, but one more Earthquake takes care of that, and we defeat Bruno. And unfortunately, we lost Bender. And now it's going to be time for us to take on Agatha in her Poison Pokemon. Toxat comes in, and we send in Adam. It's going to go for a Baleful Bunker, which is a little frustrating, and I'm going to try to go for an Earthquake, which doesn't work, but on the following turn, we go for it, doing quite a bit of damage. After that, it's going to lay down some Toxic Spikes, but, why? I guess I'll go for a Will-O-Wisp since a Cursed Body turned off my Earthquake, and Agatha uses a full restore, and it's a Ghost, you silly goose. It sets up another Baleful Bunker, blocking another Earthquake, but we're going to go for it again, which is going to get it disabled again, and then it takes itself out with a Curse. Which leads into High Cruel. I swap out into Balloon, not even considering the Dark Pulse getting absolutely annihilated. So I guess we'll swap out, and I'll send in Maria instead as it goes for another Dark Pulse. I guess I'll go for a Nasty Plot here, as it decides to go for another Dark Pulse, because I don't think it can hit me with anything else. And I'm going to go for an Energy Ball, doing, like, not a lot, just kidding, it has Earth Power. Alright, so here's Happy. Agatha uses the full restore, and I'm going to seed this thing up because I don't have any other options, and thank goodness for the evasion as a Dark Pulse comes in, but we can start going for minimizes. It still hits us, and we're going to get up to +4 as we continue to do a little bit of chip damage because of the Leech Seed as it misses a Muddy Water after that. And now that we're at +6, I can start throwing Sludge Bombs at it, even though it's going to do basically nothing. But it's better than literally nothing as it misses a Earth Power on the following turn. It does connect, however, but I am a specially defensive monster since I am both a Venusaur and a Blissey. And this thing is down like crazy low, but I'm going to use Soft Boil to top myself off and let the Leech Seed take care of High Cruel, which leads into Elegar, who's going to hit us with a Thunderbolt like a jerk, and I'm going to go for another Leech Seed, because why wouldn't I, you silly goose? And after taking a Dazzling Gleam, I accidentally hit Leech Seed again, but it doesn't really matter here. And don't even tell me that you're not getting siphoned. This freaking Elegar has Magic Guard, which is incredibly frustrating. I'm going to have to swap. I mean, but I literally can't, because if it goes for a Psychic, any of my Pokemon are going to go down. So I'm going to use all of my Sludge Bombs on this thing, hoping that it's enough to take it out. I don't think it's going to be. And it's down to, like, literally nothing now. As it connects with a Thunderbolt, we do manage to take down Elegar with our final Sludge Bomb, which leads into Parimoth, who's gonna go for a Quiver Dance, and I unfortunately miss my Leech Seed, and it goes for a Venoshock, and we finally connect. So I'm gonna swap out and send in Spike, since it's a physically attacking Pokemon, and it goes for another Quiver Dance. It is going to unleash a Tri-Attack on us, getting me down to just 49, activating my berry, and I can go for a Stab Ice Punch, and I get the freeze off, which is wonderful. And it's still frozen as another Ice Punch takes it down, which leads into Garblosion. And I'm going to swap out Spike and send in Adam as it goes for a Burn Up, which does a lot to us. After that is going to follow up with a Gunk Shot, which does effectively nothing, and a ×4 super effective Earthquake. Should be enough to take this thing down, and it isn't. I know Garbodor is tanky, but holy smokes. Anyways, one more Earthquake finishes off Garbalosion, and Clefairy is her final Pokemon. It's going to go for a Sludge Bomb on us, getting me to 15 as I get the Will-O-Wisp off. And we're going to swap out back into Happy as it goes for a Moonblast, doing some minimal damage to us. And goes for a Minimize, and we fortunately get the Leech Seed off, and let's see which one of us is better at dodging stuff. It's probably going to be me, especially because the Trop Kick does like literally 7. Actually, not even, it's at 6. Anyways, let's get up to +6 while we wait, and we're now at +4 as this thing is continuing to just get ticked down between the two dots. It's going to hit us with another Sludge Bomb, even though we're at +4, but now we're at +6, and we're almost at full health. It then connects with a Moonblast, so I guess nobody can really complain about the evasion strats because I keep on getting hit anyways, but we take down Clefairy and we're moving on to Lance. But we are in kind of rough shape here. And now it's time to take on Lance and Team Sky. He starts off with Nyria, and we send in Balloon. It goes for an extra Sentry, doing some decent damage on us, and I realize that I'm not going to be able to do my normal thing here because I can't burn this thing. Anyways, we're going to go for another Quiver Dance as it gets ready to go for a Solar Beam, but because of the sun, it goes right away. Now we're at +2 Special Defense. I am going to start stacking up Evasion instead, getting up to +4 as a Fire Blast hits us regardless. And now at +6, fortunately it misses the following Fire Blast as I decide to start going for Quiver Dances again. And as long as it keeps on missing, I can keep on doing more and more Quiver Dances until we eventually get up to +6 and I get hit by a Moonblast. But going for a Hex takes it down super low, but not quite low enough before Lance uses a full restore. What the heck is the special defense on this thing? But after he uses both of his full restores, we can take the Nyria down, which leads into Age of Menace. We can then go for a Will-O-Wisp on the Age of Menace as it tries to go for a Spectral Thief. I can then follow up with a Hex, safely taking it down, leading into No Trio. And with No Trio down in one shot, that's going to lead into Septidactyl. And I'm pretty sure I don't even need to go for the burns anymore, so let's just try to run through the rest of these guys as Minidos comes in, and it doesn't quite go down, and it hits me with a Rock Slide. Pardon you, sir. Bye. Koga Flame comes in as his final Pokemon, which we can take down, and we're moving on to Rando. Thank you, Balloon. We enter the Champion Chamber, where we find Rando. And it turns out he didn't even beat the Elite Four. He just fed them each some of his special cooking. And when they were passed out, he just came in here, declaring himself the champion. And I guess technically by the rules of Pokemon, if you win, you get to do whatever you want. So I guess you're not wrong here. But now that we're here and we've built up a poison tolerance because of all of our gooey dudes that we've been raising all this time, it's time for us to take you down for the final time, Rando. Rando starts off with Ninsharp and we send in Balloon. My only hope here, I think, is to stack up as many Minimizes and Quiver Dances as I can, and hopefully I'll be able to just get through these things. Once we get to +4, this thing is still not missing, which is incredibly frustrating. Even at +6, this thing is still hitting me. When it finally starts to miss, I'm going to break its Focus Sash with a Will-O-Wisp, but I get knocked down to just 8 HP. It then decides to go for a Swords Dance, and I go for a Hex, bringing it down super low. Low enough so that it gets KO'd, leading into Glaznoir. On the following turn, we go for a Will-O-Wisp, getting the burn, which is fantastic. Because this thing has Poison Heal, and I would have been screwed otherwise, and I go down to an Earthquake. So I guess we're not out of the woods yet. Anyway, here's Adam. I'm going to go for an Earthquake of my own, getting it down to about 50% as it goes for a Night Slash. And with another Earthquake, we can bring it down into the red, having it go for yet another Night Slash, and one more Earthquake takes Glaznoir down, which leads into Renuvion. And I'm going to swap out of Adam and send in Happy as it goes for a Hyper Voice. I'm then going to set up a Leech Seed as it sets up a Wish. I'm then going to swap back into Adam as it goes for a Psychic, absolutely annihilating me. Alright, so let's send Happy back in. Time to start stacking up Minimizes, baby! And we're going to get to +4 and then finally +6. But we still have the problem of this thing having wishes, so I really need to get some big hits in. And we are going to get the poison off on a Sludge Bomb, which is fantastic as it sets up a Wish. But fortunately, I can take it down with one more Sludge Bomb, which leads into Primeblem, who hits us with an Acrobatics, and I'm going to set up a Leech Seed. It then manages to connect with the Stone Edge, and we can get the poison off with the Sludge Bomb, which is fantastic. It will heal up with its Citrus Berry, but it's still at about 50%, and with another Sludge Bomb, we're going to bring it down into the red, and I'm pretty sure it's low enough for the dots to take it down, and it is, which leads into Kingdra. But don't be fooled by this Kingdra, it's a Goodra, and we're going to set up the Leech Seed as I'm going to get hit with a Hydro Pump. It goes for a Blizzard, and I'm going to go for a Sludge Bomb, getting the poison off, which is lovely. And how is it hitting me with all these low accuracy moves? But I guess I shouldn't complain, considering I'm cheesing the ever-living crap out of this fight, and Kingdra goes down, leading into his double fused Dragonite. We're going to set up a Leech Seed once again and try to do what we've been doing this entire time. A Sludge Bomb is going to connect, and we're going to get him down to about 50%. Now going for another Sludge Bomb, it is down to effectively nothing. And one more Sludge Bomb KOs. And that, everybody, is how I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Infinite Fusion using only Poison-type fusions. If you liked the video, the sound of my voice, and this isn't your first time here, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. I do a new Nuzlocke video just about every week, and more often than not, it is of Infinite Fusion. But let me know what other monotype runs, themed runs, or other ROM hacks and fan games you'd like me to tackle in the future. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.